Hello everybody, I'm Brennels, and today I will be doing a screencast with you that will primarily focus on PHP and jQuery. I've created a demo here of what we'll be creating. This first page is where I can simply just upload an image. I'll click Browse here and select one of my pictures, let's say forest, and I'll upload it, and our PHP will process it and give us this. Here it has a sampling of our picture and a little thumbnail of it and a little marquee selection around it here that we can modify, move around, resize to, and as you can see on the side there, we get a little preview of how our new thumbnail will look. Handy feature here is the ratio. The ratio stays the same. We can't skew this in any way, as the ratio stays the same. So here that looks about right for thumbnail. I'll crop the image, and this is what we get. We get a little preview here. This is the thumbnail that we had just saved, and it's looks like a great thumbnail, and we gave the user complete control over how they wanted to crop that thumbnail. Pretty cool. I hope you can see the uses of this for your projects. I know I've done many content management projects where an image needs to be a certain height and width, similar to this thumbnail. But you know, when the user uploads something, you have no idea what dimensions that'll be. So this allows the user to customize exactly what they want in that thumbnail and not, crop something off that they didn't want to. The power's in their hands now to do whatever they want. Well, I'm sure you're anxious to get into this, so let's get coding and try and create this here. Let's go into Aptana. Here is the code editor I'm going to use for the screencast. I've gone ahead and created a simple structure here. Simple index.php file, which is that initial screen that just uploads the image, and then a crop.php, which is where all the thumbnail cropping and that part of the screencast is. And then I've created a images folder, and that's where our uploaded images will end up. Just to let you know that I'm previewing this project on localhost, so I haven't set any special permissions on this images folder. But if you are using Unix or something like that, make sure that you probably have to chmod this to 777 or make the directory writable anyway. So otherwise, it won't be uploaded to that folder. Let's start on this index.php now. The first thing we need to do is create a form for which we need to upload this image. So we'll create a form action. So using since we're using PHP, oh, this is the wrong file here. Back to the index.php. The action is going to be this same file, so we're going to do a little PHP here to echo So what this will do is it'll print out whatever this file is called. So this is good in case you rename this, that the action will still be this file no matter what. So it's a handy little PHP thing to get used to. Our method we'll use is post. And this is important for any time you're uploading something. You have to set an enc type of multi-part form data. So that encodes the data properly, so that the image will be uploaded properly. Without that, it won't work. Now we'll create our little form here. We'll call this field image, or this label image, and we'll create a file, like that little browse input. That's all we need for this. Now just add a quick submit button. And we'll just call it, have it say upload image. Okay, that should handle our form at least. Let's go back here. See, now we have our simple form. We don't have any processing going on yet, so we'll do that up quickly here. We'll do that right above any HTML. So we'll create a few variables here that we will use. We'll have one called folder, and this will hold the folder that we want to upload our images to, which is the images folder. And we'll have one called the ridge _ width 500. So that'll just be whatever image we upload, we'll just resize it to 500 so that it fits in our little thumbnail preview properly, so it's not gigantic. Okay, so now we want to check if the form has been submitted. So if the upload image button was clicked, we're just checking post submit, and submit is the name of our form button. So if that's set, then we know that the form has been clicked, and we can handle the image. So the first thing you need to do is get the image file from the files array. And we got to get its temp name, and then we need to get what the file name is of the image. And we do that like this. Now we also will need the width and height of this image. So we'll get that using a function called getImageSize. And we'll pass in the image file because that's the file we want to get the width and height from. Now we will create an image using that and store it in a variable. So we'll use image create from JPEG. So it assumes that it's a JPEG, which for this example is good enough. And then we have our width up here, but we need to also find out what height we want our end image to be. So we'll use a ratio of height to width, and this will keep our ratio intact, so it's not skewed, because we don't know what the height is, because the width of the actual image could be 1024, it could be even larger than that, so we have no idea what the right height should be, so we find out the aspect ratio of it. Next, now that we have that in place, now we need to create another image, or an empty image that we can change. So that's creating an empty image that is a specific width and height, and then now the magic comes in. Sampled. We use this to take our source and put it into temp and fit it into this width and height, which this one in our example, the forest is way larger than 500 by whatever this calculates. So we're gonna move this into this temp variable by using this function. So we're going to take the temp and the source, and these are just all going to be zeros for now. In the crop PHP, these will be a bit different. And we'll use orig, width, and height. Like that, that should be good. And then we're going to use the image JPEG to actually save this temp image somewhere. So we're going to save this somewhere. Folder, so we're going to save in the images folder. And we're going to just append the file name to that. So it'll be images / forest.jpg in my demo example there. And then quality, we're just gonna set to 100 for now, so it looks great no matter what. Now we're just gonna clean up some of these variables that are hanging around, the temp and source. And then now what we need to do is, once this is all done, we're going to redirect to our crop.php page. So we're going to do a header redirect. So location, and then we're going to go to crop.php, and then now we're going to pass in some get parameters to this. First, the file name will be like this, and we're also going to pass in the height. This height that we've calculated, this ratio here, should be good. And here I'm just gonna make sure that our file name is in the right format for passing here, so that there's no problems at all. This looks good for our index.php. This may seem a bit complex, but you can reuse this between projects, and just copy paste some of this, make a few changes. You don't need to memorize all this. Just kind of understand it somewhat. Let's go to the browser here, and let's see if our image gets uploaded successfully. So browse, this time let's do desert landscape, upload. So we see it redirected us to crop.php. appended file name, the file name that we had uploaded, and the height that it calculated. So it calculated that this image, the new image, will be 500, because that's what we set, by 375, and then we're going to pass this to crop.php. Let's go into our folder here. This is the jCrop screencast folder, and in the images folder we now have the desert landscape photo in here. So that worked perfectly. We have an image, and just for making sure here, let's see what the dimensions are here. Dimensions are 500 by 375, so that's what we wanted it to be. Okay, so now the fun part. The workhorse of this project is actually the crop.php file. This is where the majority of the stuff is going on, so we're going to need some variables here as well. We're going to use similar variable here, folder, and now we're going to use our file name. So we're going to get it from the query string. We're just going to get file name. So get whatever is passed in, and that's what we're going to use. Ridge width, we're going to store this again, and ridge height. So we're going to get this from the height. So those are the variables we need right at this moment. Now let's create a simple table here that will be where we'll have a table for this, one cell for this, and one for this, just to kind of format this a bit. So in here we're gonna create the image. So this is the bigger image. So we're just gonna get folder.filename. So that'll be images / desert landscape. So that'll be the source of this image, and we'll just give it an ID and an alt. That's good there. And now this is where the thumbnail is. So I'll just put some text here. Now this image is going to be the same thing. So images / desert landscape. So they'll both be the same size currently. Let's just take a look at this. Oh, here it is there. So yeah, there's some error here or something that it's I'm not sure why it's not showing up. Let's see. Yeah, just simple typo or something that I'm sure you were screaming at the monitor there. But yeah, now that works. Now we got two side by side, so obviously this isn't right. We need this thumb preview to be a lot smaller. So let's apply some CSS to this to get it to be a little thumbnail. In our head. Okay, so we're gonna apply it to preview. So that's the ID here that we're referencing. And we're just going to set this div to have a width of here. We need a few more. We're gonna have a width to be a variable and the height to be a variable. So we'll set these up here. So we'll create two new ones. So these are what the dimensions of our thumbnail will be. So the width will be 200 and the height will be 100. The width will be 120 and the height will be 100. And then that's where we're going to echo out these variables here. And then we'll do the same for the height. And then we're going to set overflow hidden. Now let's go back here. And now we see we have a nice little thumbnail that this is what we want it to look. As you can see, you can't drag anything and change this yet. So that is what we're going to need to work on here. For this screencast, I've chosen to use a pre-built jQuery plugin called jCrop. So we're going to have to go find this. So I'll just search jCrop plugin. That's all you need to search. And we get Deep Liquid jCrop. So this is what we're going to need to use in this project for that neat little thumbnail functionality. So download, just grab it here quickly. Open. I'll just extract it to the desktop. And here it is. So the only files that we really need here are the JS and CSS. So I'll go ahead and I'll drag these into Aptana, into our project. So now that we have those in here, we need to reference them. Oops. So we need to include our jQuery first. And then we also need to include the jCrop. And then lastly, we need to also include one style sheet that it provides for us. There, so now we've included this file and all these two of these JavaScript ones here into our project. So now we've finally gotten to the jQuery aspect of the screencast. So let's get to it. We're gonna run some JavaScript. So when the document is ready, we're gonna do something here. The basic functionality of jCrop allows you to just do this. We're gonna take our div with an ID of crop box. Right here we assign this ID crop box, and all we need to do for the default is jCrop. This will perform the default. Let's take a look at this in Firefox now. And as you can see, I can drag around. It performs the default, and you see the thumbnail isn't changing. So we need to do a few different things to get this working the way we want. We're going to need to pass in some parameters to this jCrop. So let's make some more PHP variables here. We're going to need a ratio, which will be of width to height of our thumbnail. So this will keep the proportions as I showed you before, that you can't skew the photo. As well, no, that should be all we need right now for the variables. So now in our jCrop we need to do some stuff here. So we're gonna set aspect ratio, and we're just gonna echo out the ratio. We're gonna set a default selection because, you know, just do it by default for them. And this will just be, they can change this, but this will be the minimum. So this will just take like the 500. So this will be 500 and 375 in our case, because that's what this whole image is. So we're just going to set the default select to be that whole thing, and then it'll probably crop off a bit because the ratio won't be the same. As well, when a selection is made, we're going to run a function. So we're going to go to an update chords function, and so that we'll create this a bit later. But first of all, for jCrop to work, we will need a form. A form that'll have the proper coordinates associated with it, because when we click that crop down here, it'll pass some form values. So let's create that under their table. So that's our form, and we're just gonna redirect it to the same file again, and the request underscore URI will pass the query string along with it as well. So that's why I'm using that. So this will be the X, the Y, and we'll need to get the width, and the height. Sorry for having to type this all out, but and then we'll create a submit. Yeah, that should be good for our form right now. Let's just go back here. Now we can see we have 4 form fields and a crop. So essentially what our update chords function is going to do is populate these fields as well as change our thumbnail. So let's quickly jump over to that. So we'll get each form field, and we'll just assign that the x value of the coordinate that this function automatically returns the coordinates. So we're just going to populate the form with these values. Here, copy paste this. Oops. There. Oops. Alright, and one other thing this function needs to do is show preview. Show a preview of what our selection is. So that'll be the next function that we... Alright, this function, show preview, I'm just gonna copy and paste it in here for you. It's taken straight off the example that jCrop has for you, so to save you some time, I pasted it in here. It's a bit complex, but it's nice that they give it to you. We're just targeting the thumbnail image here. We're assigning some CSS, width, height, margin left, margin top. That will show us a preview. Let's go over to the browser now, refresh, and see our functionality in play. We can, as we move this, you see the thumb changing, we move it around. The values at the bottom here are changing as well. So that's exactly how we want our preview to work. Now these inputs here, we do not need us to see it. Those are strictly just for debugging purposes. So we'll just go over here and quickly change these all to hidden, as that's the way they should be. The user doesn't need to see those at all. There we go. Now we got this project probably 90% done. We just need to handle the image when we click crop image. As right now you see nothing's happening, so that's the last part of the screencast. So we're going to do some PHP. Pretty much same idea as this index.php file here. So I'll copy and paste the little chunk here. We don't need that. Source. We're going to create from that selection, so we're going to use our big image as our source. So images / desert landscape temp. This is about right, except instead of a ridge we want targ, because we want it to be this 120 by 100, not 500 by whatever the height is. This looks good. Only thing we need to change here. Now we want to use our form values here. So that'll be the values in our form here, X, Y. And that's what we're going to use in this image copy resampled function. You can view more information about these functions on php.net. It gives it a full rundown of exactly what each one of these parameters means. It's good. This needs to be target, as that is what we want to use. And the width and height are coming from the post as well. From our form values that I just showed you before. This is good. We're just gonna add a little T underscore in front of it so it doesn't overwrite our big image. So you know, you could have a gallery with little thumbnail which would be T underscore the JPEG, and then when you click on it, then a larger version pops up. You could do something like that. We'll clean those two variables up, and now we're just gonna echo that preview for our image. It's gonna say save thumbnail. And it's going to point to folder T. So it's going to point to that T underscore one that we just created up here. There you go. Let's refresh this. Alright, let's drag this a bit here. Let's say you want to focus in on the out here. Yeah, that's about right. Crop. Oops, spelling mistake. Create from JPEG. Let's try that again. And there you see save thumbnail, and that's exactly what we had cropped out here. Exactly what we had in our selection. Now let's go in our images here and see what we have. See, we have our big version that we are using to select, and this is our thumbnail, T underscore desert landscape. And this will have this will be 120 by 100 width and height, which is exactly what we want, and we've cropped it properly. The beauty thing about this is that if we go look in IE6 using this handy IE tester that I saw first from one of Jeffrey Way's screencasts on Theme Forest. So we'll use that here, and let's choose a different picture this time. Autumn leaves. Upload, so it uploads it. Oops, a little bit of a problem here. Oh, that's fine, I guess, for now. Well, that concludes this screencast, and I hope you've taken a lot of knowledge from it. And until next time, bye.